right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. Okay, so we're going to get started on our morning analysis here. Let's grab the bias chart, and we're going to start with the euro dollar. So the euro dollar is very quiet here at the 108.50 level. As you guys know, I am long the euro dollar. My cost average is 108.73. So I'm sitting in a long position. It really has found a lot of support down here, but at the same time we haven't seen any sizable bounce. The euro dollar is still trading very weak at the moment. We're sitting here at the 618. Paul pointed out that we could push a little bit lower. I think what we have to do is focus on this low right here. Okay, you can look at this low that comes in at 108.10, and you have to imagine. Let's imagine we have a here, let me just get to that 108, basically 108.10, right? Okay, so you have to imagine that if we have a strong ADP private sector jobs number, the stops below these lows from yesterday at 108.30, they are in jeopardy this morning. I think that they are. I think if you're long and you have your stops just below those lows, you're going to put those at risk. We could actually drop below 108, trip some stops below 108. There's so much support down here that spawned over several weeks that we may probe down below 108. Okay. The one thing that I do have to point out is we're not bouncing, and this is coming from somebody who's long at the moment. So I am very much aware that we can press a little bit lower in the euro dollar. Okay. Now also remember, let's go to this daily trend line. This is a daily trend line. That means every day it probably loses about 15 pips in value. So yesterday the trend line came in at the 108.30. Today the trend line comes in at maybe 108.20, so it's probably losing about 10 pips a day in value. And we could challenge that. We can go down and keep probing that trend line support. All right, pushing very slight lows before bouncing. So that's something that you also have to keep in mind if you're on the long side and you're playing against this trend line, which I am. All right, so I'm going to write down support as 108.10. is being support, 1.0810. Don't be surprised if we get down there. There'll be a spike lows down there, probably be gobbled up. Resistance is still at 109, or we can probably get a little bit more granular here, but I still think 109.10 is the resistance that needs to be taken to take the downside pressure off the euro dollar. Okay, and if you're looking at this 4-hour chart, let's take let's take a close look at some of the support through here. Comes through like that. Relative strength continues to be divergent, but we're just not seeing much of a move at this point. Actually, you know what? Let me remove that. Let's remove this, and let me draw it like this. We're just gonna keep that on there for now, but we'll pay attention to it if we actually do manage to get some sort of rally out of the euro. But 109.10 is it will be resistance today, 1.09. And we're gonna have to have a pretty big miss for us to make it up to the 109.10 level and break it. All right, we are still in a range, longer term. Longer term range environment in the euro. I mean, we've just are bouncing around quite a bit. Finding some support down here. Probably find some resistance on moves up to 112, 115, 114. So just kind of a range environment at the moment. Let's go over to the cable. Like I said, the cable has been surprisingly resilient. I still own the pound. I'm long from 139.24. I'm still sitting in a long position. It's small. It's not huge. I've been sitting in that for a couple of days. It's nothing to write home about, but I am, I've got a little bit of a position just playing that divergence. But it moved above 140.60. That's where it gets bullish. That's where it starts to really, squeeze higher, in my opinion. All right, so it's holding up, and despite the weak construction PMIs overnight, despite the weak manufacturing PMIs from the day before yesterday, we're still holding up well. We might be developing an inverted head and shoulder pattern here. It's possible. You can see there's these would be the shoulders, the neck, the head would be here. So if we actually broke above 140.60, you could see that this inverted head and shoulder pattern will be in play. Okay, but 140.60 is big resistance. 1.4060. It is ginormous resistance. It will take this downside pressure off because we are still in a very bearish trend. Support will be the lows right there, which will be 139. Okay, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Not just very straightforward analysis with the pound and the euro. Let's go over to the Swissy. All right. Here's the Swissy, and as far as the dollar Swiss goes, we're just bouncing around in a really tight range. This is another very simple analysis. I can't say I'm excited about buying the dollar Swiss down here. I also don't want to be a seller. So my hands are off the dollar Swiss right now. I'd rather be a buyer of the dollar Swiss on a dip. If we get a dip back down towards 98 cents, I'd be more interested in it. Just because, as you guys know, the daily trend line here, any dips, like I picked it up last time we were down here at the 96.50 level. I'll do it again if we can do that again. But right now, I'm just not very interested. We stopped at the 618. We're holding some near-term support. So this 99.50 and 1.0030. I mean, that's what's keeping us in this range right now. Very easy to see. Can't say it's extremely easy to trade, although I'm not trading it. I'm just saying that it's a pretty tight range at the moment. So there's the dollar Swiss, and we are in a range environment. Now let's go to the dollar yen. The dollar yen, I am short the dollar yen. My cost average is 113.65, and I'm willing to add to it. I'm looking for, the possibility of a move up towards 115. One thing that you have to realize with the dollar yen is that if you look longer term, this was a big breakdown. Remember, it was all about the BOJ. When they introduced negative deposit rates, the dollar yen reversed very hard. We have a big head and shoulder pattern that is still in play. Okay, that means any rally to the neckline that comes in at 115.50, you have to use that as a selling opportunity. Now, as you guys know, I'm shorting it ahead of time. I've been short. I was short here, I was short here, I was short here, and now I'm short, right here. And I don't mind, I really don't mind having a 114.50 average. So if we get up to 115 and, and it looks like it's going to reverse, I'm going to add some more up there, and then my average will be around 114.50. I want to keep shorting the dollar yen as long as we remain below 116 yen. Okay, 116 yen is pretty much my threshold for pain. That's where I'm going to say, okay, we're above 116. You know, the dollar yen short trade for me would be off the table at that point in time. But there's room. Okay, if bonds continue to come down, if yields continue to go up, if the data in the U.S. continues to impress this week, we could very easily get up to 115, 115.50. All right, and you have to keep that in mind if you're playing on the short side of the dollar yen. Right now, we have this move right here. We might have an equivalent move that looks like this. It takes us up to 115. All right, that seems logical. And only a dip back below 114, and actually it would be 113, whatever the lows were last night. It was like 113.74, I think. Yeah, 113.73. So I'm going to write 113.75. Only a dip below 113.75 is going to take off this downside pressure. Okay, right now 114.50, but I would say more importantly is 115 is resistance. Okay. Ooh, the cable is popping. Look at the cable. Woo! Cable's on the move. We're going to get up towards that resistance. 114.60. Remember, if we break that, we have a nice inverted head and shoulder pattern in play. In the pound. Pound struggled up here, though. Just keep that in mind. Dollar yen is still in a bearish trend. Keep in mind that any rally in the cable up here has found sellers and has reversed. So be careful chasing the cable into here without having the support of a weaker ADP number. So you have to have a weaker ADP number in order for us to you know, in order for us to really break out. There's got to be some substantiating evidence or substantiating fundamental reason, you know, or evidence to get the pound to really move. So we may have probes up here into resistance, but you got to be careful chasing into that resistance, at least without the data supporting. I think if we have a weak ADP number, we could be trading, you know, trading up at 141, you know, and 141 and change by the end of the day. All right, let's go take a look at the dollar Canadian. I'm going to try to get most of this analysis done before the break because obviously we got ADPs coming out at 8:15. Today's going to be one of those days, by the way, guys. I'm going to try to get through all your questions. I'm not sure if that's going to be doable, but we'll see. Okay, so dollar Canadian, we found support at 134. The breakout point here was 135 or 134.50. You know, we're kind of, it's kind of messy right through here. You can see like all these spike highs up here that stalled us, you know, at 134. You know, that might be what's producing, you know, this bid. This last move up here, we had 161% extension at 134. You know, I'm not really interested with the U.S. dollar Canadian right now. I guess there's some comments from, so it looks like there's some comments from Russia that is putting a bid in the dollar Canadian, but excuse me, a bid in crude, which is giving the Canadian a little bit of strength right now. The lows below 134 at 133.85, that's pretty Canadian fashion right there, just to take out the stops below 134 and bounce. So 133.85, we'll mark that up as support for now. It's not great support, it's support. It's just not, like I said, it's not great support. Resistance on the way back to 135. I'm assuming this is going to be a little bit of a problem, you know, if you're on the long side of the dollar Canadian. Personally, I'd rather be on the short side of the dollar Canadian. I just don't want to be on the short side right here. I'd rather be on the short side towards 130s. Excuse me, towards 136. Excuse my yawns today. Like I said, I got in bed really late last night. I'd rather be on the short side above, closer to 136 than 135. But I think if you're playing the dollar Canadian today, we're probably going to see some decent resistance up here around 135. Okay. Not great resistance, but we should find some up there. We are in a bearish trend while we're below 136. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the Kiwi. So the Kiwi, once again, big rejection. Now, this, I did not see this happen. I did not see the rally above 66.50, but this is a very interesting probe above 66.50, stopped out everybody, and then reversed. I'm going to venture to guess at this stage that any rally to 66.50, if we can get a rally back up here again, anybody who didn't get an opportunity to sell up here is going to be like, wow, I'm going to get short. And personally, I don't think that's a bad idea. If you can get 66.50, we did spike up to 66.60, so I still think 66.50 will offer good resistance. Okay, now support is down here at 65.60, but more important support is going to be here at 65.50. So 65.50, 60 be support, and that's going to be really key support. All right, we are in a range in the cable. Now the Aussie is making its way up to the 72.50 level, which, as you guys know, is big resistance. We've been up here before. We've struggled up here. We keep knocking our head up against it. I'm going to write down 72.55. It's just big resistance, 0.7255. If we have a weak ADP number, okay, a weak ADP non-farm number, a couple things that you should be looking at is the cable, which has been showing cable, which is showing a lot of resilience down here. So look at for cable longs. The euro dollar probably get a decent bounce on a weak ADP number. Dollar yen will probably come back to 114, but I think one of the better trades is going to be long the Aussie. I know a couple of you guys have mentioned to me the breakout in copper. If you guys haven't seen that yet, copper, I still think that we have to develop a little bit more of the shoulder, but hey, we could take off early here. I mean, you can see copper is really trying to make its way higher. If the Aussie breaks higher above 72.50, we have a weak ADP number. Copper can hold this breakout point. I would look for a daily breakout. A daily close above maybe 216, kind of where we're at or higher. If that happens, this Aussie could really go on a tear. All right, so keep your eye on the Aussie at the 72.50 level. It's a big resistance. We're in a range right now, but and I think if you're short the Aussie, you're probably pretty worried. If you're short the Aussie dollar right now, you're probably thinking, oh crap, what am I doing short this thing? The strong GDP numbers, you got copper breaking higher. You've got people that are probably scrambling right now looking for exits in the Aussie, that anybody who's short the Aussie dollar. So dips to 71.90, probably going to be very well supported. 71.90 definitely down here, but I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't know if we're going to make our way down here anymore. So 71.90, I would imagine shorts are looking to cover. So any dip down here, probably find some buyers. Okay. I'm going to do the dollar index really quick. Like I said, I want to get most of this done before a break. Here's dollar index. Okay, so here's your dollar index. Dollar index, I mean, previous support, here you can see it. Previous support, current resistance, previous support, current resistance. We're probing, we keep probing above there, but no follow through. It's just, it's the same story that we've had with the euro dollar. It's like, yeah, we keep pushing lower, but no follow through to the downside. You know, I mean, the dollar index, same thing here. You know, we're just grinding up into some resistance. Um, we can give it up to the 786, which would be 98.70 on a good number, on a good ADP. Okay, support right now. I still think while we're above this, I know we had. I'm not gonna actually draw this, but you guys know that I had that drawn yesterday. Kind of looking at that. That's still pretty much it. You know, right through here. Oh yeah, we did have the red line there. It's right there. 97.80. That's still support. Okay, still in a range. All right, let's do the peso. See if I can get that done really quick. Peso dipped below 18. We haven't had a whole lot of follow through to the downside, which is surprising. You know, with equities as strong as they had been, you thought I would have thought we would have had more downside here. Let's the last time we had a lower low, which would be right here. Let me do a little bit of work here. Let me get rid of this. Aha, that would be the reason why. You see it? 618. Last time we had a lower low to high, 618, 1787. God, I should have recognized that earlier. Okay, 1785 is, or whatever the lows are here, 1784, 85, 1785 is support. Resistance is back at 18. $17.85 and resistance 18 right now. If we can get back above 18, then we're gonna start making a run back for that 18.30. I still think we're in a range here. Okay. That's it for now. When I come back, I'll just take a real quick look at the Nordic currencies, the Norwegian krone and Swedish krone, see if there's anything going on there. I'll be back in a few minutes, and then we've got ADP non-farm coming up, so don't go anywhere, everybody. Glad you guys are here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. I'm sorry about that. That's one of those things. It was getting chilly last night. I was out at the baseball field. I was like, damn, I need a sweatshirt. You know, Arizona is one of those weird places that it's a desert. You know, I mean, even though we live in the metro, and for those of you that have never been to Phoenix, it's actually very green. It's a very green city. For being smack dab in the middle of the desert. But there's a lot of vegetation around here. But there are certain parts of town, like where I was at last night, that was in kind of like the higher desert near the mountains, and so it's warm during the day, but at night the temperatures drop pretty rapidly once the sun goes down, and it's like you get there, you're you're playing baseball, I was playing, practicing with the kids, and I try to help out as much as I can, and you're out there and it's like 80 degrees and it's beautiful, and sun goes down after a couple hours. It's in the low 60s, and you're like, whoa, it got really cold really fast. I think it's caused me a little coughing. Anyway, okay, so here's the US dollar Norwegian krona. We're finding a lot of support down here, which is really interesting. As crude has strengthened, I've been really surprised that the Norwegian krona hasn't turned, and I'm short Euro Norwegian krona. I'm basically flat. I'm literally flat. I mean, I would lose a steak dinner right now if I closed out my Euro Norwegian krona. It's basically a flat. But I'm surprised that the Norwegian krona hasn't been stronger. Pushing lower with the stronger crude prices. That's been pretty impressive to me. So anyway, just a bit of an observation. I think support here is at 862, resistance is at 875, and 862, 875, and just keep an eye on it. The scary, whoops, what's that? Why did I type that over there? I meant to do it over here. Okay, here we go. US dollar, Norwegian krona. I guess the thing I want to pay close attention to is if it breaks out to the upside. What was that? 8.62, 8.62, 8.75. We're in a range, but you get, like I said, I got to be careful, and you got to be careful if you're playing the long side of the Norwegian krona, because if crude just rolls over, this US dollar Norwegian krona is probably going back towards 890. Probably is. Let's go take a look at the Swedish krona. Swedish krona yesterday had some really bad Swedish numbers. I forget what it was, but pushed it higher. Just again, this is like lack of follow through. Just once again, just no follow through here. All right, we just pulled right back. Nothing super exciting at this point, but I'm going to keep it off the bias chart. So your bias chart is done. We have ADP non-farm in 12 minutes. Let me see if I can get a couple of comments. Kathy, very nice comments. She said, Blake, just want to say thank you for being here for all of us. I truly appreciate you. Have a blessed day, and thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the